So guys, we talked a little while ago about the TRD Pro is longer than the factory struts and how we compared the TRD Pro strut to the TRD strut. This TRD strut is the exact same length, overall length at full extension as the TRD Pro strut is. The housing size on this is a 2-inch diameter. The Fox TRD Pro strut is a 2.5-inch diameter. This is the Bilstein, which obviously they're both made by Bilstein. And if you look, you can see a clear difference on height difference here on these two. And when I rotate these, you can actually see that the cup here on the front where the spring sits, they actually at the exact same location on both of these, but you can see how the difference in the height is here. So we are going to do is we are going to remove this TRD off-road strut that has the red axles in it in this truck, and we are going to put in this strut into the truck, and we are going to install our preload collar on the TRD strut. So we're going to be able to use the factory spring with our collar on the truck to give it another 1.5 inches of travel in the front of this truck. And the reason we were able to do this is because it has the red axles in it. I checked all the part numbers on the TRD Pro and the TRD Off-Road, upper control arms, brake lines, axles, everything is the exact same. So with that being said, if this strut is the exact same length as the TRD Pro strut and all the other parts that go along with it are the exact same, that means that this strut will have no problem working in this truck and will have no problem working with our collar. So what we're gonna do is we've already gone around and measured this truck, and with going around measuring this truck, I've got measurements already, and I'm gonna show you where those measurements were taken from. So when you go to install your kit or go to install your lift, whether it's our lift, someone else's lift, it gives you a good baseline on where to take the measurements from. And if you make the tire change, you don't make the tire change, the measurement's always gonna come out the same for you. So I've got my measuring tape here. I come back and I measure from the center of the axle here on the truck, and I'm measuring from the center of the axle to the bottom edge of the wheel well here. So that brings me in at 23 3/4 here on the fender. And then when I go back to the back one, this one I measured same spot and I'm 24 3/4. Now how I only have a 1-inch rake on this truck is because customers ask, hey, if I run your lower collar, can I keep a little bit of a rake? This truck already has our lower collar on it, and it's a TRD Off-Road, and you can see it has a 1-inch rake front to back. Now, when I measure this truck from side to side in the back, it's actually a little bit taller on this side. It's a 1/4 inch taller on this side than it is on the back corner, but the front corners are the same. Reason for that is because the gas tank is located on this side. It has just less than a half tank of gas, and so when I add and fill this thing with gas, it's gonna drop this side down about a 1/4 inch, so then it'll be even left to right on this truck. So we're gonna do is we're gonna take this truck apart, we're going to add our rear puck to this truck, and then we are gonna add the TRD strut to the front, and then we are gonna do our 1/2 inch shim on the top with our lower collar on the front, and then we're gonna see how this truck sits when we're all said and done, and then we're also gonna see how it rides. This truck should actually ride really, really nice when we're all done. And the reason I say it should ride really nice is because now we're picking up another 1.5 inches of travel, and that's on the rebound travel. So when the car compresses itself and it rebounds, it's gonna give it more upward travel on the truck, so we don't have as harsh a stop or as quick a stop. So it allows the strut itself to slow itself down and slow the momentum of the vehicle down as it rebounds. So we're gonna get it torn apart. We're gonna share some of that with you as we're installing it, and then we're gonna share with you when we get it all back together, and we'll share the drive and everything with you as well. But this is going to be a really good option for those guys that just wanna replace the front struts and maybe run the collar and run their factory spring on this and not have to worry about anything. They're not gonna have to worry about going out and buying a set of Kings, a set of Icons, a set of Foxes, and they're gonna be able to do this for a whole lot less. This TRD kit has 84 parts complete to the whole kit. Really the only thing that's really needed is the strut and our lower collar, and you gotta make sure that you have the red axles, because without the red axles, the axles will fall out up at 3 inches. Anything actually over 2 inches, you don't wanna exceed 2.5 inches with the black axles, because they have the tendency of pulling out of the CV boot, so, or CV axles. So we'll get this going for you, and we'll share this with you as we go along. So we've got the new TRD strut in here. Including the TRD strut, we've got our lower preload collar, we've got our upper 1/2-inch shim. We're still running the factory upper control arms. You can see this thing at full droop, based on the strut at full droop. We still have play in the brake line here, okay? On top of that, if we take this and I can slide this up in here, I have clearance in the spring here at full droop of the strut. And everything else at full droop looks pretty good. The angles of the axles here, we've got the bump stop spacer here, and the reason obviously we do that is so if the bump stop ever gets blown off the bottom of here, the metal, it'll keep from actually bottoming out the strut. It's just a safety precaution. We don't have to run the 1/2-inch or the little shim right here, but we do that just so if it does bottom out and this gets blown off, which we have seen it happen before on those guys that are out there extremely using the truck. So, you know, you get to see some of these things on how they take place. And here, ABS line still has plenty of play in it. Red Loctite on all of our bolts here on the top as well. This is really gonna work out really nice for this customer. So we wanted to share that with you, and we'll share some more with you once we get it back on the ground. So we made a few changes to the truck. We got it all together last night. We ran the top 1/2-inch shim up on the top of the top hat. And when we got the car down on the ground and we settled the car on the ground, we came in the front at 25 1/4 and 25 in the rear. We decided at that point this morning that we were gonna pull out the 1/2-inch shim, take out the bump stop spacer here, and take a little bit of lift out of the front. So we're taking about a 1/2-inch, comes out, yeah, right about a 1/2-inch. The other nice thing about it is we showed yesterday in the video that where the back here, there still was enough room clearancing from the control arm to the back of the spring here, but now taking that 1/2-inch out, we actually picked up enough room. You can get a finger down there at full droop. So a little more space. It wasn't hitting before, but now there is more space since we did that. You can see here the sway bar angles, the axle angles. You can actually see here now there's plenty of room in the brake lines. These are factory OEM brake lines here. So ABS lines, no problem there. So everything is in where it should be. Nothing's at severe angles at any of this stuff. No contact points anywhere on this. So we're gonna get the truck, get the front wheels back on it, get it back on the ground, settle the suspension. Then we're gonna get on the alignment rack, we're gonna get it aligned, and then we're gonna go out and put a few miles on it and just see how it drives. There's actually a little bit less preload in this factory spring that we powder coated red with our collar than what the OEM one has that the TRD kit comes with. This is a 9-wind spring, which is the same as the 9-wind spring size as the TRD Pro has in the Tundra on that factory Fox kit. The spring that comes in this kit is actually a 10-wind. So with the 10-wind and the weight rating on the spring, it has more preload in it. So it will ride softer with this setup than it would with the factory OEM spring that the TRD kit comes with. So we're gonna package this up this way. And the reason we are is because we wanna offer a more rebound lift for the customer. This, we picked up another 1.5 inches of rebound on this. And this is where, if the crucial point is with the alignment on these trucks, that if the alignment isn't set exactly where the specs that we ask, you really kind of don't get a lot of that rebound. And they're very limited on the rebound because we're only limited at 2 inches. Right here now, we picked up another 1.5 inches on the rebound. So this really helps us a lot to when the car comes down and when it comes back up, when it springs back, it really helps to settle the front of the truck to get it slowed down on its upward travel. This is a 2-inch diameter shock. The factory TRD shock is a 2-inch diameter. They're both made by Bilstein. This one is branded TRD by Bilstein. So we've got this all set up now. We're gonna get the wheels and tires back on it, and we'll get this on the alignment rack, and we'll share with you some more as we take some drives in this truck on how it handles and how the characteristics work out for us. So we've got the truck back on the ground. I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna hold this up here. I'm gonna have him settle the front suspension. So as he settles it, you're gonna see how much drop we get here in the front end. Okay, go ahead, Ethan. So we dropped about 3/4 inch in the front of the truck. and now it has a slight rake from front to back. But we dropped 3/4 an inch. I said it was a 1/2 inch puck, but because that 1/2 inch is on the top, it's still creating preload on that strut. So we dropped about 3/4 an inch because we were 25 1/4, now we're 24 1/2 on the front of this truck. And then we are 25 on the rear. So we're a 1/2 inch difference rake front to back now on this truck, which has a really nice stance. It'll make for a really nice ride. All we're using is a strut now. We're not using the 1/2 inch shim. No bump stop spacer. We really don't need the bump stop spacer. We talk about that all the time, that's on there. So if the bump stop spacer or the bump stop itself peels off or breaks off, that it still has the metal number to bottom out on, and then it internally doesn't bottom out in the shock itself. So that's why we do it. It isn't necessary, but it will prevent injury or damage to the shock body or internal valving in it if it did ever totally bottom itself out. So we're gonna get an alignment rack now. We're gonna do some road tests on it, but we've got it all set up and we think it looks really good. And it's proportioned now better than being a little bit high in the front. So just so everybody knows, again, we're 25 1/4 and 25 in the rear. Now we're 24 1/2 in the front, 25 in the rear. So again, we'll keep you posted.